Hello and welcome to the next episode in our Resistance playthrough. And this is the second episode about science and research. Because what I need to talk about now is how do you get into space? And we need to get into space because the aliens are there and doing stuff. So we can see that there is an alien ship on its way towards Earth here. We do not like that. It's a gunship, so probably this one is going to crash as well. There's another one here. It's also a gunship flying towards Earth, arriving pretty soon. And eventually there will be ships coming towards Earth which are going to sit in orbit. And these are the ones we want to shoot down, if we can. And we want to get there. But for that we do need resources. Resources that we can only get from space. For example, from Mars, from the asteroid belt that we can see here, or from the moon, which is going to be, Lunar, which is going to be our first target and order of business here. So all the research we are doing now, after we are going to, we just unlocked the We Are Not Alone research, so we are going to get clandestine cells as a project anytime now. This was the first priority. Now the second priority is getting to the moon and get resources. And then get to Mars and the asteroid belt. So how do we do this? And what do we need for that? And I'm going to write a list under this video. You can feel free to check it out and use it for your own playthrough as like what the priorities should be. I'm going to explain it briefly here now. So to get to the moon, you are going to need a global technology that is called Mission to the Moon. So there is, I think we are just going to the mission to space and then the deep space propulsion. No, there it is here. So it requires Outpost Habs and then mission to the moon. And that's going to allow us to send probes to the Earth moon. And it will allow us to actually therefore scout the moon and then make stations or outposts there. But that's not all. We want more than an outpost station. We also want resources on the moon. So when we check out Lunar itself here, we can see that it has 9 sites that can be settled. And we can see the resource it will provide us. You can see the same resource here in the top bar, which I mentioned already in the first episode. And for example, we can see that the Peary crater or Shackleton will get us many of those, and it will be Peary or Shackleton that we are going to settle here because we need water and we need metal, because these are the most complicated things to get into space. And ideally we get a decent amount of resources from this so that we can then use that to speed up whatever we want here. Good, but how do we get resources from the moon? As mentioned, we need mission to the moon to send a probe there, for which we also need outpost Habs. So then we have 2 or 3 things available. We can make an outpost and we can go to the moon. But then we still need to get resources out of the ground, for which we need space mining and refining. And this is a more complex path. So we can see that outpost Habs is required as well for space mining and refining. But it also requires mass drivers, which requires advanced electromagnetism. So this tech is actually relatively deep for early techs. So picking outpost Habs too early is not really useful. If you get a technology pick, then go for advanced electromagnetism into mass drivers so that we can prepare space mining and refining, which then ideally finishes up with mission to the moon or the other way around. You can also make an outpost on the moon already earlier and therefore not have the mining unlocked yet, but eventually you want to. The thing is, what you also want to research is the advanced chemical rocketry here, because it gives you a lot of useful projects that you need to do. Of course, everything behind this is giving you projects, like the Outpost Core project, which you need to research before you can even make a base. So you basically have to research the design for a base that you can make one, in this case on the moon. The same here with space mining. you get the tech to make a design, but then you still need to research the Outpost mining complex. We can even look at that in the full tech tree, which is extremely complicated, which I just want to show now. So if we zoom out, you can see everything that can be researched in this game. It's massively complex. Don't get overwhelmed. Use what I will recommend here. But basically what it will tell you here is now, okay, what kind of projects are going to be unlocked? And if you want to know details about these projects, like maybe do they have other requirements, then it will show you these kinds of requirements. So if we go to the Outpost mining complex here, we see that it requires the Outpost core project first to be done. So we have to, of course, we have to have a design for a base before we can make a design for a mining operation on the planetary body that we want to mine. So that's something you really need to aim for. I'm going to, as I said, write this into the description of the video so that you can follow and check, like, okay, I got what do I have and what do I not have. And there's another tech that I want to mention, which you should get before you go for mining on the moon. Ideally, sometimes you can't make it work, but then you should get it as quickly as possible anyway, is the advanced chemical rocketry here, which is going to give you the interplanetary chemical rockets here, which is a very important project because it will provide you with a research that not only increases the boost investment on the surface of Earth so that you get more boost resource out of it. We just got a little bit of income here currently from our, no idea where we get it from. From Armenia, which is in Russia, so we get a share, which is in the Eurasian Union economic zone. That's why we get it. And most importantly is this text here. Reduces boost use for sending material from Earth to beyond low Earth orbit. Transport using boost for calculate cost using exhaust velocity of 5.6 kps. It's a very complicated talk about how expensive is it to send stuff into space. So we basically design better rockets which are more efficient, more resource efficient, and therefore we can reduce the cost of sending stuff into orbit. And this will play a very big role. You want this technology ideally before you send a mining module to the lunar surface, the moon surface. And there are many other projects and technologies that you need to do, for example, before you can get to Mars. I'm going to write it down, and then you can follow that so that you do not get stuck in something or that you forget something critical or you maybe don't find it on your own. There's some nice to have things as well, which I'm going to write down as well. One honorable mention here is the high thrust probes, for example. So your scouting probe to, for example, Mars will arrive 100% faster. If you can pull that off and research this project before the Mars project gets done, this is definitely worth it. Requires advanced chemical rocketry, which we, as mentioned, anyway want. So that's just a nice to have if you can make it work. There are a few others which are also nice to have. But the big problem of this whole game is that you have to balance your space game against the game on Earth, because you also want to do technologies that improve and make your Earth game easier. So you, for example, can research projects that increase the science output of your nations that you control, or make certain things more efficient, like how many points can I invest here into certain things, or how efficient are my counselors in doing their missions. And you have to balance these against your demand for the space race, and you also have to later balance that against the ship designs that you want to achieve, because research is very expensive and you can't do everything at the same time. So there are other projects that you also want to hunt for. And that's, for example, a project called Arrival Markets. Arrival Markets. Yes, Arrival Markets. Here we go. Because that's going to give you 5 more organizations per month available for acquisition. Currently we just get 5, into our consideration, then you would get 10. So you have a lot more variety and maybe more of the orcs that you actually want to get. Like if you want a persuasion orc, then you have 10 times the chance instead of 5 times the chance to get one. There are also other projects in here which you really want to have early on, which is, for example, Friends in High Places, which buffs your counselors, but also National Research Oversight, which gives you more research from your control points. So there are a lot of things that you want, but you can't research everything. You have to balance it, and you have to see how well you are performing. And that's the main struggle in the early game, that you have to balance way too many things, and that you can't do all priorities at once. But as said, I'm going to write it down so you can follow and use my recommendations to speed up your space game and your Earth game by a lot, and not get stuck on some technology or project that you maybe don't even need this early. And that's more or less it, what we need to know here, because we are going to investigate the space race on our own here in the campaign in a few months. And for now, I'm going to jump back into our Councilor play here, that we finally grab control of the US here.